Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Monday, August 16th, and we are back from Indy. Had a great weekend, and we're very excited because the market is ripping today. I don't know about you, CJ, but it feels like, we're starting another bull run here. It's exciting to see. And, some real pops in some assets over the weekend and to start the day today, including, the Solana ecosystem absolutely ripping to the upside. Doge ripping to the upside after we had some pumping from Elon and Mark Cuban, a couple of eccentric billionaires. We'll talk about all that and more. But before we get started, how are you doing today, CJ?
Doing well. Thanks, Monty. It's good to be back. Pretty long weekend. Very interesting price action, especially with the news coming out of Afghanistan. Seems to be spooking the traditional markets a little bit. However, we were a little bit overextended. I think a little bit of that sell pressure is now falling into Bitcoin and crypto as well, as we go into a little bit more of risk off territory. But there's a lot of charts that I'm really excited to show today. And without further ado, why don't we get into some?
Yeah, I'm excited to show some charts today too, CJ. So let's dive right into it and get to as many as we can because there are plenty to talk about today. So you want to start us off with the Bitcoin chart and tell us what you're seeing there?
Yeah, sure. I've got a couple and a couple warning signals. I am macro bullish, but I will say I am a bit bearish in the short term just to start the week. A lot of times we've seen Mondays kind of set the tone for prices in the equity market. But beginning here, I want to highlight three kind of warning signals or three things to watch, I guess, with Bitcoin. The first being these bearish divergences in both the RSI and the histogram in the MACD. So therefore, momentum or bullish momentum specifically is beginning to decline as we continue to go up in price. Also, this was a TD sequential 9. Of course, sometimes it takes a few days afterwards before we see the true profit taking of those 9s actually impact price. We also have a bit of a rising wedge pattern here that we are just barely holding, as well as the 0.05 Fibonacci level. So this level is a very critical one that the bulls are just barely holding right now, but I would definitely watch carefully if we get a breakdown from this zone, because if we do, I think a prime level to revisit would be this support level highlighted in green. And ultimately, I'm pretty optimistic on this support level because it's been pretty profound throughout Bitcoin's history. I mean, we had initial resistance on the way up at roughly 40K. We had it again on the way down several times. This level has acted as both support and resistance. And so ultimately, I'm going to be looking towards basically the 42 level as the ultimate launch pad for a potential rise higher if we do see this profit taking to continue in the equity market. With that being said, I think it is worth going over and just checking out the S&P, because typically a lot of what we see, and this has been a really reliable pattern throughout the market and since we've really had this profound uptrend, but each time we get a pretty significant divergence from this 20 smooth moving average in the S&P, and then we begin to see some weakness with a bearish engulfing candle, typically we will retrace to the moving average. And then when we see a bullish engulfing candle off of that moving average, that's been a really successful entry point for, the existing trend all throughout the past months. So if we are to see some type of regression like that this week and an increasing price in the dollar, then it may be a little bit more difficult for Bitcoin to rally in the short term. Being said, I do think there's still a lot of long-term bullish macro fundamentals that I can get into. One thing I talked about last night briefly was this Bitcoin difficulty ribbon and miners ultimately coming back onto the network and really relieving sell pressure, and may ultimately end up being a new bottom here as we come out of this compression phase with the Bitcoin difficulty ribbon. But a lot of content right there, a lot to break down this morning with price action in multiple markets. With that being said, Monty, I'll pass back to you.
Yeah, CJ, I'm right there with you. You definitely have to take into consideration the SPX. I mean, there's a lot to look at right now. Like you said, there's a lot of information to break down. And one thing I just wanted to quickly talk about is something that I think is going to be important in the coming weeks because, like you pointed out, CJ, there's the chance that we get a pullback in Bitcoin, but I think the alts can actually keep running. And one thing I've been watching over the last few days as we've seen kind of the alts pop is Bitcoin dominance. As you can see, we've been falling steadily over the last 8 days, 7 days here. We broke below this 20-period smooth moving average, broke below this critical level here at about 44, and, are headed back into the low 40 territory. I think that, if CJ's hypothesis of, a possible, launch pad back down to 42 before going higher, that is something that I think is likely and could definitely complete this formation here we're seeing in Bitcoin dominance. We're only on a TD sequential 7, implying that this trend is not yet exhausted. And I would agree with that if you just look at the performance that we're seeing in alts across the board. Bill Parker's talking about Solana. That ecosystem has been popping. SRM has taken off. And I think that Bitcoin dominance can fall even lower, given the fact that we have the traditional markets kind of selling off, being a little bit hesitant given, some global, political factors. But I think once that, strength resumes, Bitcoin's going to, continue to rally. But in the meantime, I think the alts are going to be the story over the next, week and a half to 2 weeks. So I'm excited to talk about our doges of the day today, CJ.
Why don't you start us off then?
All right. So I basically, I actually do have a specific doge of the day, but I think that over the next few weeks, you're going to have the opportunity to apply a very simple trading strategy that could be very profitable in altcoins. And that's just a very basic moving average strategy, and it involves the 200 SMA. So I want to start by looking at SRM and kind of how this thing performed around its 200 SMA. Like Bill Parker pointed out, the Solana ecosystem has been on fire this weekend. Volume has been incredible for SRM and SOL, but just look at how this thing performed. It's not just a coincidence that right when this thing got above its 200 SMA, it really got some parabolic price action. This is a critical level of resistance. And in my opinion, this moving average strategy is very applicable to the alts during this current point in time in a market cycle. We had a strong rally followed by a strong sell-off and a negative divergence from the moving average. Now that we're back above it, this is more or less an indication to buy. And now that I've seen this in SRM, I want to look for this in assets across the board because I think that, not only do alts trend together, but retail capital is going to look for similar opportunities across the board in crypto. So one I saw today that I think, looks very similar to SRM, but has yet to pop is EOS. So as you can see, this thing has moved above its 200 SMA on some, relatively strong volume. It doesn't look like much down here, but actually, according to Trade the Chain, its relative trading volume is up over 100% over the last 24 hours, hitting a bit of resistance here. But I think that the fact that it's back above this 200 SMA for the first time since June, and it's seeing, an increase in relative trading volume is very encouraging for EOS. And overall, this technical formation just looks very similar to what we saw in SRM. And once you get above this 200 SMA, it just frees up the likelihood of, more parabolic moves to the upside. So just look for assets that are crossing above this. EOS isn't the only one. Link is another one that crossed above it this weekend. And I'm sure if you dig deep, you'll find plenty of assets that are showing a very similar technical formation here. So I think that the alts are going to have a great couple of weeks here, CJ, and there's going to be some tremendous opportunities across the board. So be on your toes and be on the lookout because I think you can make some real money in this market.
Interesting. Thank you for that moving average strategy. Always interesting. A lot of traders and funds really looking at that 200 SMA and taking it into account before they make macro decisions. My doges of the day, I'm a little bit more hesitant just because I'm a bit bearish in the short term. I do want to see a little bit more of a rally before we get really into the altcoins. Like the Solana ecosystem and a lot of the assets that you mentioned, Monty, are really trucking. I want to highlight some assets that are outperforming the market right now and maybe a little bit more favorable to enter or to speculate on once Bitcoin does return to a little bit more of a bullish posture, because now I think it is giving a couple warning signals on the bearish side at least. But if we are to reverse and kind of break above this previous high, I will flip back to being like full bullish. And some of the assets that I want to pay attention to are these 5 right here on the side. So we talked about bands a week ago and how that one had performed. This one is going to be one that I continue to look for. This is a asset that is within the Solana ecosystem as well, that has really seen a strong outperformance relative to Bitcoin in the overall markets. Luna is one that has been absolutely off the charts. I mean, this is an incredible run, and we've actually made all-time highs, and not only Luna but a couple other assets. So we've literally had a double bubble now, and I think it bodes well for the rest of the space. But being said, I mean, these parabolic runs are they're quite astounding, and they could fall into some profit taking. If Bitcoin is to fall, say 5 or 10% in a day on some catastrophic news. But overall, I think these assets, including Serum as well, are definitely ones that I want to watch in these coming weeks because I am very fundamentally bullish on the trend and on Bitcoin. I just think that we may see some good profit taking here with a little bit of fear in the S&P. Also, Anchor is another one in the Solana ecosystem that's been performing very well. And then the last asset that I will highlight that is actually not in the Solana ecosystem, but has been performing extremely well is that of Chainlink. I really like the run Chainlink's been on, and I think it bodes good for the overall fundamentals going into a potential second bubble of this cycle. So overall, I'd say a little bit cautious in the short term, but I think we're still seeing a lot of bullish fundamentals coming out of Bitcoin in the collective space, weeks or months out.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, you're just waiting for a break above, that previous high we saw in Bitcoin, and then would that give you more conviction in the entire space?
Yeah, and I just think overall people are scared, especially in the traditional markets. And I'm just not trying to be too greedy with the incredible run we've had in a lot of these altcoins and Bitcoin recently. So it's going to be an interesting week. It's always interesting how Mondays can set the tone, so to speak.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting week, and I'm excited that this week we're facing off with the options oracle, AJ Monty. We'll get his take on not just the traditional markets, but also some crypto assets as well. So, going to be an exciting week, lots of price action, and hopefully we can address some of that with AJ later on in this week.
Yeah, always a pleasure to sit down with the option oracle for an hour and get his take. Awesome technical analysis. Always come away learning more after we do those webinars. But if you're looking for a place to trade crypto that offers over 12% interest on DOT specifically and 9% on USDC, check out Voyager. They are the sponsor of this program. And when you sign up for Voyager, use the promo code REBEL25 and they will give you $25 free in Bitcoin when you fund the account with over $100. And if you'd like trade insights or continual trading education from Monty and myself and our analysts at Market Rebellion, you can check out the link below at marketrebellion.com/crypto. And you can try our crypto trading room for just $1. And we appreciate that, guys. But with that being said, I'll pass it back to Monty. That's all I have for today.
Yeah, thank you for that, CJ. And just a reminder that some of you guys pointing this out in chat right now, but the VGX token swap is happening right now. So trading is frozen, not just on VGX or not on the Voyager app, but also on Binance as well. They're supporting the swap. So it's going to be frozen, but we'll be monitoring that and talking about it in the room. Lots of excitement around that. So thank you all so much for watching. We will be back tomorrow with another Daily Crypto Byte. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you again tomorrow. Take care.